Why did you not give us goat milk from London when you were kids?
Because you were not my grandkids.
Hello, my name is Sals Comfort. On social media, I'm known as Sals Comfort, but my real names are Salome and Dinda Challings. I live in Holland and I also live in Machakos. Both are my homes. And this is my bun in the oven story, or lack thereof. No buns, no oven, none of it. So my story starts about 7 years ago when I got diagnosed with cancer. I had colon cancer, which I battled for quite a while. And while battling colon cancer, it came to my attention, the doctor's attention, that I had something called Lynch syndrome, which means that the cancer was genetic, which means that I was predisposed to getting certain types of cancers, which is colon cancer, cancer of the uterus, ovarian cancer, and another type of cancer. And because of that, we had to decide, actually I had to decide whether I wanted to keep my uterus. So I decided that I was going to have a hysterectomy, and in 2017 I had a hysterectomy. And that means that my uterus was removed, my cervix was removed, and my fallopian tubes were removed, hence no oven. So no chances of any buns in this oven. While I was deciding to go through this procedure, I had a very long talk with my mother because, again, I'm an African woman and kids are very important. Somehow you're not a complete woman, or you're made to feel like you're not a complete woman if you do not have kids. Kids always come into play. You're asked if you have kids. If you're 38, 35, 36, in your 30s, no kids, then it's like you're doing something wrong. So every time I got asked if I had kids, I said no, and that brought along some type of stigma, and I got all types of names thrown to me. While going through this process, I learned of the word TASA. No idea what that meant. But apparently TASA means barren. And that is the name that was associated with me. I was barren, which doesn't really make sense because I've had 2 pregnancies and 2 miscarriages. So technically, I can get pregnant. I'm not barren. But because my uterus was filled with fibroids, I had the miscarriages. And in 2015, I had surgery to remove all the fibroids, but we all know, or some of us know, that fibroids grow back, and my whole uterus was covered with fibroids. So the doctors thought it was a good idea for the uterus to go. When they removed it, it was weighed and it was 3 times the size of a normal uterus. So if I were to get pregnant at any time before that happened, I would have lost my life. And that hit me quite hard. If I had listened to everyone trying to convince me to have kids and given into that so that I can please society, so that I can be well, have a good standing with the society, I would have lost my life. I would have had a baby, maybe, that would be motherless. And that discussion with the surgeon, your uterus was 3 times the size of a normal uterus, and this could have killed you. That was enough to let me know that I decided, or I made the right choice. And another thing that really helped me decide this is my mother, because a lot of African mothers want grandkids and they always ask you, when are you going to give me a grandchild? When are you going to do this? When am I going to have grandkids? I'm getting old, I need grandkids. That is the one thing that my mother never ever did. Never. Anytime the topic of kids came and someone asked me, when am I going to have kids? My mother shut that down immediately. She was like, you know, she's going to adopt. And her standing beside me made it easier for me to decide to remove the uterus. It's a very hard thing to decide because we're women. We identify with certain things. Our uterus, our, you know, this part, it makes us women. And those women that go through mastectomies and the women that go through hysterectomies, they have reached out to me because they've gone through depression after such surgeries. They feel less of a woman. And I never felt that. I just felt that this is something that I had to do for my health, for me to be here. And it had nothing to do with my womanhood. Sure, it's a very intricate part of who I am as a woman. This is, you know, this is it. This is something that makes, but what does it mean to be a mother? Do you have to conceive, carry the pregnancy for 9 months, give birth? Does that really make you a mother? To be honest, no, I don't think so. I think raising a child makes you a mother. So despite having this part of me removed, I could be a mother if I wanted to. And that means going through adoption, adopting a child, which I did. I have a very beautiful son. So I'm still a mother, despite the fact that the things that we think make us women are not part of me. And I feel like it's time that we stopped giving into society because we are expected as women to fit certain boxes. You have to be married, you have to have kids, you have to have this and this and this and this. But what do you want as a person? Do you want a child? There are women that will say no. And yet that is not good enough. They're shamed for that. You have to have kids. Why? And who says that? Who says that I can't be me, I can't be Sals, I can't be Salome if I'm not raising a child? I can be out there building a career. I can be out there being a fabulous wife without having kids. I've grown up in Holland. I've lived in Holland for 23 years. I've come across a lot of couples that have decided not to have kids. They sat down and they spoke and they decided that we're going to go through this without having babies. And that's fine. If you do not want to do that, that is fine. That is a choice that you get to make, and that is fine. No one should decide for you what you should be in this life. No one should decide if you need to have kids, because what happens is a lot of women get pregnant, not because they want to, but because they have to. And they end up mistreating the kids. They feel like the kids took away that part of themselves that they did not want to give out. And now you have this child that doesn't have a mother because you're not acting like a mother. Why? Because you gave into society's pressures to be a mother, yet you are not mentally or emotionally ready to be a mother. So certain parts of our bodies do not make us who we are. If I'm lacking a uterus, that does not make me less of a woman. If I'm lacking these two, that does not make me less of a human being, woman. What makes me a human being, a mother, a wife, is how I treat my child, for example, who's adopted. He's all mine. He calls me mama. And that means I'm a mother. And no one can tell me otherwise. He may be adopted. Uyo si wako. You get people saying that. But who says that? You have kids that have lost their mothers. You have kids that need a parent. And then there are certain of us that want to be parents, can't be parents, that step in and give this child a home. So going through this whole process of cancer, of the hysterectomy, taught me a lot, really a lot. Because at some point I did think that it was a must for me to have kids. I did think that my mom requires to be a grandmother. She wants me to have kids, but she didn't. She wanted me to be happy. She wanted me to be me, to stand in this life as someone who's content, who's happy, who's achieved the things that she wants. And that by no means I have to get pregnant. I cannot get pregnant. That is a fact. Another thing that I do get, which is very well meant, I appreciate it when people say this, but scientifically it's impossible. When you tell me, just trust in God, believe in God, and you will have that child that you want, it is impossible. I know that you mean well, but it's impossible. There is no oven. So how is the bun going to be cooked or baked? Doesn't work, right? There are certain parts in your body that work the way that they're supposed to work. If your foot was to be amputated, I would not tell you believe and then tomorrow you wake up with a foot. The fact is, it's amputated, you're lacking a foot. It does not mean that you're not a believer, that God is not by your side. That by no means that you're not a believer. It just means that you have accepted to get the strength that you need from God to deal with the situation, which is you have no feet or you do not have a foot. And that is the same with no uterus, so no chances of ever getting pregnant. You really do need certain things to get pregnant. You need that uterus, you need the fallopian tube, you need the cervix. That is what was created to facilitate a baby. You know, you need the man's end of the, game. You need the sperm, let me call it that. It needs to work its way into your uterus. It needs to go all the way to the fallopian tube where it will meet an egg, fertilize, and voila, you have a baby. Now, how is that going to happen when you do not have any of that? The egg can't even get to the, there is no way it can do that. That's not going to happen. It doesn't mean that I do not believe in God. I do. And the one thing that God has given me is the strength to be able to deal with everything that comes with everything. You do remember cancer, hysterectomy, chemotherapy, neuropathy, taking thousands of drugs. All of that needs a lot of strength. And if God wasn't here to give me that strength, I wouldn't be functioning right now. I would not be sitting here talking about this. A lot of things, if you ask me, I will tell you I have no idea how that happens, because again, I have someone who's right beside me navigating things that I cannot navigate myself. I joined a lot of Facebook groups that help with adoption. I went through the process of adoption, and a lot of it was thanks to my mother. She knows how to navigate the roads to adoption. She knows where to knock. She knows the lawyers, everything. That was all sorted by my mother. So the only part that I was needed was for me to appear and for me to be fit enough to be able to adopt a child.
Yeah, my name name is Elizabeth Katie. And what else?
My mother.
I'm mother to Salome. She's my first daughter. She's my first born kid. And actually, the moment we noticed that she was to go through that I don't know the name.
Hysterectomy.
She was a little bit, how do I have to do it, Mama? So I thought now, what has to be done, because your health matters more than a child. You can always have as many children as you want from adoption, part of it, but when you're dead, you cannot have nothing. So actually I spoke with her, although she was like, but Mama, can't we wait a little bit? I said, if the doctor says that you have to do that, you have to go for it. And I supported her as an African woman, which was not easy, but I knew, because I was useful. I adopted many kids before, so I thought if I could adopt one for my daughter, I could go for it. And I spoke with her, and she said, Mommy, okay, if you want me to do it, I will do it. Actually, it was not about only the uterus, but I thought, why don't you go to also for the, what do you call them? Mayai Mtoto.
Oh yeah, the ovaries.
Ovaries. And it wasn't an easy job or easy thing to think or to do as a grandmother, because I wanted to be a grandmother, but I knew I could do it in another way, and through adoption. And that is what we went for. She went to the hospital and she did the operation. And that was it.
Another thing also, because of the Lynch syndrome that we have, the fact that the cancer is genetic, any child that I was going to give birth to, it was going to be 50-50. They would have either Lynch syndrome or not, which means that at some point, if they had Lynch syndrome, they would have cancer. It was a given. My mom had cancer as well. My grandma had cancer. So passing on this gene to my future child was something that I did not want to. You do not know which child is going to get it. And that also meant that we would have a designer baby. So if I decided to use my eggs to have a baby, every egg would have to be screened before they insert it into me. So it would be IVF. It would be a whole lot of hula baloo before I actually had a child that is mine genetically.
Yeah, but to me, I thought, having a child is not about being pregnant for 9 months. You can be pregnant for 9 months and not be a good mother. So for adoption, I thought, any child who is adopted by my daughter, whichever way it could be, is going to be my grandchild. And I thought, I didn't have to request anybody else. I only spoke with my daughter, and we decided to go for it. She went for operation, and I was happy that she accepted to do it. I knew it wasn't easy for her. And I knew through this system, especially when people are just through everywhere talking about how many children you have and when did you get your firstborn. My daughter was mature enough to get even 3 or 4 kids. I thought, no, my daughter, go for it, go for operation. Even if you want, I told her, even if she wanted 6 kids for adoption, I was going to do it. It wasn't easy, but we did it. I knew where to start already because I did adoption before. I had an adopted daughter, a sister, a big sister for Sally, whom I adopted through easy way, so to speak. I got a child in Umoja Estate who was really mistreated by a mistress, or what do you call the employer. So I said, no, I have to go for this girl. She was a beautiful girl. She was around 7 years old. So I went to that girl and I spoke with her. I asked her, who are you and who are you to this woman who is mistreating you? And she told me, I come from Uganda. I came with my auntie, and my auntie died, or rather, I don't know where my auntie went, because after a while, my auntie never came home, and I was tossed from one family to another. So we decided now. I spoke with my daughter, who was still young and very slim, very smart in her mind. I said, don't you think it's good to have a sister? And she said, Mommy, let Obisa be with us. And I took that girl. I went to the police station then. I cannot say which police station I went to. I reported the matter, and One of the police bosses told me then, if this girl doesn't have parents and you're willing to take care for her, just go for it. So I went to, she was young, 7 years, and we stayed with her and we took her to school. She went to school. When she reached an age of having identity card or ID card, Kenyan ID card, I thought, yeah, which name do I have to use? Because she isn't my daughter. So we decided now. I went to my mama and my dad and I spoke to them. I said, she has to get your names. And she was called by their names because she was mature enough. She was, mature enough to get an ID. So she got an ID. And then she became Sally's she became Sally's daughter, sister.
Yeah.
And we loved her till she died 2010, unfortunately. So adoption wasn't an issue. I started already going to this journey. I went to many children departments. I spoke with many people. I went to my lawyer and discussed the things with my lawyer. And he said, if you want to go for adoption, although it's Corona time, then we better wait. And I thought, no, I don't have to wait. I want to go for it. And we went to children department. We filled all the forms which were needed, and we went for adoption. And we got an adoption. We got a kid.
There are also a lot of adoption agencies in Nairobi that facilitate the adoption process. So if you think that you're ready to adopt a child, you could find one of these adoption agencies. Again, Facebook also helps. There are a lot of adoption groups that you can join that will walk your way through it if you do not know how to navigate it. It's easier for her to know how to navigate it because, again, it's something that she's already done, so it was easier for her to navigate the ways and the streets and the bureaucracy and everything. But if you're looking to adopt, just search for an adoption agency and they will walk you through it.
And so many children departments are really suffering at the moment. There are so many children without a way out. And if you can adopt a child, because we are in Kenya and the children are in Kenya, so it's easy. They come to check where you live and they approve it or they don't approve it. It wasn't easy, especially when I thought, it's a time, very difficult moment because of the coronavirus and everybody was at home. But then I had that love. I wanted a grandchild. I wanted to have a child who is called my grandchild through Sally. At the moment I went for it, the moment I saw this child, I fell in love with him. And actually Sally can tell that there's no child, even her. There's nobody whom I did take care of.
He is more spoiled than we were.
Yes, and I love him.
He had a bike. By the time he was 4 months. A whole bike for a child that is 5? He had a bike. This child is spoiled. My mom would call me and be like, oh, I was on Amazon ordering the goat milk from London.
Yeah, because I was in love with you.
And I even told you, why did you not give us goat milk from London when you were kids?
Because you were not my grandkids. They were not my grandkids. So this child had everything, so to speak. Every week I was going to Jumia offices to pick something for this boy. His bedroom is actually worth 300,000 shillings. Only the bedroom. He was just like, I don't know what I haven't given to this child. The moment nanny is almost halfway, there's another nun which is not open. And it's like, yes, I have my grandchild. Yes, I love this boy. And yes, even when Sally is picking up this son, the child cries. It's like, oh, what is she doing with my grandson? How much love I have this.
She can cry. She can cry when she sees him crying.
Yes.
Of course. She can cry. I'm stone-faced and I'm thinking, who do I try to get not to cry? The child but he's hurting and she's crying. The love that she has for him is it's out of this world.
So in short, we can say you can love a child as much as you can love yours, no matter whether it's for adoption or your own child. You have to give that feeling that this is my grandson or this is my granddaughter, and I'm actually looking for another one, for a second grandchild, because I want Sally to have 2 children. and she will have them. Actually, the most important thing to know is why your child or your daughter or your son is not getting children. I've seen many movies from Nigeria where there were people who are pushed to have or told this child is grown enough to have another one. Don't push your children to have children if they can't have them. If you have a way to adopt a child for your child, do it. If you cannot do it, or rather if your daughter or son doesn't want to go for adoption, don't even force things, because children are a gift from God. Whether it's a child from your child or a grandchild or grandson for your own belly, don't force ways out, because you can have your own grandchild from your own daughter or your own son and you don't have love at all. But then if you have that love, I have so much love, because I had also to go short, I had a house girl who took care of Sally and the brother, and they stayed with us for 26 years, and she got 7 children under my care. She was going for leave. She got pregnant, she went to give birth, and all the kids I brought to my house and I took them to school. So maybe I'm special with so much love in me, but those parents out there, if your children cannot get kids, if they can't give birth, don't dare to talk negative things about them. It hurts them. Because I know my daughter, the moment I gave my daughter that positivity, that with or without children, you're my daughter, then she got her peace. And she's my best girlfriend, always. She is, yes. Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
We live in a society where a lot of kids get thrown on a daily basis. You just need to log on to Facebook and you'll see a post or a video of a child being rescued from a latrine, a child being rescued in a dump somewhere. There are a lot of kids that need parenting, and unfortunately the roads are very hard to navigate, but they can be navigated. Join some of these Facebook groups. You will find women that have gone through this. You will find women that can tell you how to go through this. There are people out there that have adopted, whether they can't have babies themselves or they can have babies themselves, they have adopted. I had a sister who was adopted as well. She passed in 2008 and she was rescued. So my mom took her to the police station. Here's a child that doesn't have a parent. I'm going to keep her until you find someone, and it ended up that they did not find anyone that was willing to take her, family or otherwise, and she was adopted. She became my sister. So I have been blessed enough to have that kind of training whereby we know that a child is not just yours by way of birth. My sister was my sister. As a child, I thought it was quite unfair because this was someone that came into our life. So how do you treat her the same way you're treating me? How do you give her the same things that you're giving me? I'm your kid. And my mom was very clear, this is your sister. This is a child that belongs to us. This is your sister, that's it. So growing up, I had that already. I knew that giving love to a child who's not yours required more patience. It required more work than a child who's yours, because they know that they're yours. They know that this love you're giving them, you're supposed to give them. But this is a child that doesn't know that you're the mother. So they need extra love. Now they're young. He's very young to know that he's adopted. He just sees me as mom. But later on in life, I will have to tell him that he's adopted. And I will have to explain how. And that we loved him actually way too much, a lot, and he was a blessing to us. So he's not treated any different. He's not. It was very weird bonding with him. It happened instantly. There was no, who are you? It was just instant connection, instant love. It was done. He was mine. That's it. You need to be able to mentally and emotionally be in a place where you can give love to a child that is not biologically yours. This is not a child that you're bringing in for you to mistreat. This is not a house help. This is not a child that you're going to segregate and tell them or show them that they're not part of you. This is a child that needs to be reminded constantly that you love them, shown that you love them. And for you to be able to do that to someone that's not biologically yours, you need to be in a good mental place, in a good emotional place. If you're not, you will mistreat a child that's already doubting their place in this world. And that's not why you adopt a child. You adopt a child to give them all the love in the world. I've gone for 39 years without being a mother, and now mama, like, that is weird. That's weird. Like, it takes a second for me to answer, because I have someone who's calling me mom. Wait a minute. Yeah, I'm your mother. So I think the one thing that's really changed is the fact that I'm a mother, and there's a little toddler somewhere that is looking towards me, looking up to me and calling me mom. That is weird. Raising kids, I've always done that. I have my brother's 2 sons. I'm always very involved. I wake up in the morning, make them uji. I have them days on end. So having a child at home, I knew what that is all about. But having a child that is calling you mama, that is a whole different ball game. That is, because now you're going to the supermarket and you have to shop for your baby. Before it was like, okay, your father has everything. But now it's you that is consciously being a mother. It has to come, I have to remind myself that I'm a mother. It's a weird thing. It's very weird, but it's very lovely. I'm a mom. Stop it. Stop pressuring women. Giving birth is not just something that someone wakes up and decides, oh my God, today I want to get pregnant. Well, some can do that. But other people struggle. Women struggle for years to give birth. They get depressed. They get all types of insults from family, from husbands, from in-laws. And it eats at them because they're trying. They truly want to be mothers. And then here comes society, throwing more pressure. People that you do not know have to remind you that you do not have kids. Happened to me. Like, what business is that of yours if I do have kids or not? If I do decide to have kids, I do decide to have kids. That is my choice to make. I am not going to decide that because you want kids. I'm going to decide it because I want kids. I need to be in a position to raise my kids and to give them love, emotional support, financial support, all the above. You have women that have hormonal issues. You have women that have a lot of things happening whereby they cannot get pregnant. And then comes you with your misplaced ideas. Una watoto unaniambia nini? You do not have kids. What are you telling me? You think that she's not trying. She is trying. So stop piling on the pressures. If a woman does not want to have kids, she does not want to have kids. Simple. What business is that of yours? So stop it. Stop with the pressure. No one pressured you to have kids. And if they did, it wasn't a good thing. But stop pressuring other people to have kids. It's none of your business whether they decide to have kids or not. It's none of your beeswax. If you're a child that is adopted and you do not feel like you belong, you do belong. You really do belong. You belong in the sense that you're in this planet. You survived, because a lot of kids do not survive. If someone doesn't want them, they kill them, they dispose of them. So the fact that you're standing and you're adopted, someone loves you enough to take care of you. You belong. And you need to find your place on this earth. It's always a journey, but it's a journey worth it. Just find your place, find something that you can hold on to. You have sisters that love you, maybe you have brothers that love you, you have a parent that loves you. The fact that someone adopted you means that they loved you enough to welcome you to their life. And I think that any child that is adopted, any child out there, you're a blessing to someone. You're a blessing to someone that couldn't be a mother themselves, couldn't give birth. You bless them with the ability to be a mother. The fact that you call them mom or dad, you bless the family with your presence. So see your presence in this world as a blessing to someone else. I look at my son and he's a blessing. A lot of people say he's blessed to have you. No, we are blessed to have him. So you're a blessing to someone. Hold on to that.
The times are difficult for now. If your children, you need to have that friendship with your children, because then they can open up. Whatever moment they have something to talk to you about, just open up, sit down with them, talk to them. Because now, especially when you think about cancer, it's not an easy way to go. I had cancer, she had cancer, and it wasn't easy. Going for chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and my daughter is also going for the same. It was the worst moment of my life. So be with your children, talk to your children, sit with them, listen to them. If you can help them, please do. Don't give them that look like, okay, if you cannot have children, then sorry. Be with them, whatever journey they have to be.
Be your children's cheerleader, number one cheerleader.
Yes.
That was our story. That was also my story about oven in the bun, or lack thereof. No ovens, no buns happening over here, and having the best support system that doesn't make you feel bad that you have a defective oven. So anybody out there, just don't worry. Be your child's number one cheerleader, and everything will fall in place.
For sure. For real.